Let me share with you the best items to get in Lost Castle 2 and the relative build for each weapon. Once you get to Nightmare difficulty, things become really hard, especially if you are on Nightmare 3. Now, every run you do will be completely different. You're never gonna get the exact same treasures, but what you do have control over are the cursed items. You're guaranteed to at least get the option to go into a cursed room. Always go to the cursed room. Use your reroll tokens to find exactly which cursed items you need to use. A couple of them really stand out as the ones you should always go for because it's that good. It is tier 1. For example, if you are going more of a mage build and you're spamming your ability, make sure you get the cursed pocket watch. No matter how many rerolls you need to use, get this item. It recovers all of your mana every 20 seconds and it allows you to keep spamming your skills. Now, another item that I think is tier 1, which is kind of low key. I was not convinced until I tried it out myself. And it is this one, the Evil Spirit Binding Bottle. So essentially, it's going to recover your elixir up to 25%. It is so good, better than any of the hunter gear, the banana, or the emergency HP bottle. This is what will sustain you on those boss fights. You hit the boss a few times, you drink your elixir, and it will always keep you alive. It is really, really good. Trust me on this. There's 2 more I want to quickly go over. It's the Cursed Mika Shield. It gives you straight up 8 defense. That is huge, by the way. You are going to be really, really tanky. And you can no longer be knocked down. Now, I will say you don't always want to go for this item unless you're purposely going for a tank build. For example, sometimes it is good to be knocked down. When you're knocked down, you're going to be laying on the floor for about 1 to 2 seconds, basically meaning you're invincible. But if you are going more defensive, I think this item is a must. The final tier 1 item is Broken Demon Blade. This is perfect for auto attack weapons, especially those that attack very, very frequently and able to hit multiple targets. If you are playing Lantern or Dual Blade, get this cursed item and you will feel an increase in power. Obviously, the legendary items will do much better than, the purple and the blue. A few that I think are above the rest is the 4-leaf clover. Anytime I see this, I will get it. If I don't have enough purple crystal to buy it, I would actually dismantle stuff and get this. It is just that good. Another one that I have to shout out is the slime armor plates. It is so good for survivability given that it is only a blue item. So anytime you take damage from an enemy and you lose some health, you gain 1 defense, up to 8. Now, when you leave that area, this resets. But it doesn't matter. You're taking this for those boss fights where you're getting hit probably 5, 6, maybe more than 8 times. You're gaining 8 free defense. Of course, we can't forget the Rebirth Amulet. In the past, I used to be a little too self-confident, but once I hit Nightmare 3 and I started struggling, anytime I see Rebirth Amulet, I always take it. Having an extra revive will really increase the chances of you just beating the game. One last item I want to add in is a legendary. It's the Parati's Key, and what it does is for every area that you go into, if the green runes you have is lower than 12, it's going to be set to 12. If you are not going a tank build, get this key. It's so good, it automatically gives you 12 green runes. Why won't you get it? I'm actually going to skip identifying the best armor because the armor is really dependent on the situation, what build you have, and what you're struggling with. The general rule of thumb is, of course, the legendary ones tend to be better. Unless you have one of the purple ones and it fits your build so much so that it's better than the legendary, then in that case you don't switch. When it comes to your weapon, one weapon that I really like to find mid-game, no matter what weapon you're using, is anything related to the void. So in this case, Lantern of Void. It's the one that kind of creates a black hole and it sucks in all the objects, the mobs in that map. You do not want to use this against the bosses, but if you're in the mid game, at least have someone on your team go Lantern of Void. Group up all of the mobs and then just AoE them down. Great for clearing. It's available on all weapons. I have mentioned this before, but if you're playing the Lantern, make sure you go the caster Lantern. I'm not going to go too much into it, but go for the casters. That's going to be the one that does the most damage and more likely to survive. Unfortunately, the legendary Lantern is not a caster Lantern. It's a melee vanguard that does physical damage. Honestly, this might be so good that it's the exception to the rule. It's a little bit iffy to use because it requires a lot of mana. So unless you have that item I mentioned, that cursed item, this one, the cursed pocket watch that recovers your mana every 20 seconds, it's pretty worthless. This legendary lantern is kind of worthless unless you have that. Speaking of lanterns, I have tried a few different builds. By far the most successful, the ones that actually allowed me to beat the game, is a primary focus on your red runes. Go for that physical damage, mainly because your Phantom Whip is so fast. Now, it doesn't matter if your primary rune is blue or red. Always use green as your secondary rune. Alright, so if I'm using Lantern and my primary rune, which is red, if I have a choice between green and blue as secondary runes, go green. Go a couple green runes, go a couple green items for increased health and some nice defensive stats like defense +1. You're gonna need it, trust me. Use green as your secondary runes. It's gonna increase your survivability. I would definitely put this staff in tier 1. Besides this staff, some other couple choices you could go would be the Lava Wand and the Apollo staff. They're both okay. I would say probably tier 2. For legendary weapons, my general advice is to use them if you find them. But I don't think they're overly broken. I don't think your damage goes through the roof if you pick up a legendary staff. Sometimes, it may not be the best option for you. They're okay. They're a huge upgrade over most of the other staffs. But again, my favorite staff goes to the Chant of Fate. The next weapon I want to cover is the bow. In the past, I used to build primary red physical damage on the bow. However, I've had more success going blue for magic damage. You spam your ability. I think one of my favorite bow is the Polar Hunter, using the Arctic Hunt ability. I also like the Ice Arrows. This one is pretty good as well. I would say maybe the Polar Hunter kind of wins out in terms of the ability. Unfortunately, the Arrow of Ice now has a little bit of delay when you spam the ability. I think it's a good change because previously you could literally hold down the ability key and it would just keep shooting ice arrows. So much so that it was broken. So now it got nerfed a little bit. Therefore, I give my favorite bow to the Arctic Hunt, the Polar Hunter. The legendary ones are pretty good. Use them if you can. Next up is the musket. In my opinion, the muskets do more damage if you go the red physical build. It can, however, also go the blue magical build. Some of my personal favorites include the Golden Destroyer and the alien fishbone. I think this weapon is really cool, and also it does quite a bit of damage. The fishbone, in my opinion, does more damage than the devouring beast counterpart. This is the one that summons the cat, but I think I like the fishbone a little bit more. Honestly, for the muskets, a lot of these later game blue, purple guns are really good. Early game, my favorite one would be the millet burner, the one that looks like a corn. It's gonna wipe out all the mobs really quickly. I love this one. Now we have the lance. I am going to be completely honest and say I don't use the lance very often. I'm not a big fan of the lance. However, a friend of mine pretty much only plays the lance class, and I asked him for his favorite weapon. It is very unexpected. It is not any of the higher rarity weapons. He specifically only uses the very basic common lance called the Knight's Lance that you can get from the starting area, from the camp. I have seen him beat Nightmare 3 using only the Knight's Lance all the way through without switching his weapon. And he didn't beat it only once. I think he beat Nightmare 3 like 3 times in a row using this weapon. If I didn't see him do it myself, I would not have believed it. But I promise you, it is true. And his reasoning is that when you play the lance, it is so much better to play green, the tanky build. You're not going to do much damage, but you will survive. You will be the biggest tank, especially with this blocking posture ability. It reduces the damage you take, and it can knock back enemies. This is Giga OP if you have the hands, because I will say he's pretty good mechanically. I don't think I would be able to have as much success if I was the one playing it. But I do enjoy using the Phantom Gun for the mobility. That would be my pick. Next, we have the sword. My least played weapons by far include the sword and the lance. So do take my picks with a grain of salt. I have won the game before using the destroyer, and because there are 4 legendary swords, anytime you pick them up, use them. I have won with the demon spine sword before. I tend to prefer the heavier swords compared to the katanas, the faster ones. I think the bigger swords just feels better for me personally. The sword and shield. This used to be my most played weapon, so I definitely have preferences for it. This is a very good weapon to build tank on. You get some flame aura, you get yourself some poison. Stand on the boss. It is that easy. This is the class I recommend beginners because you build tank, you have a lot of survivability. Just standing next to the enemies and the boss allows you to bring its health down. Plus, this is pretty much the only class with a shield that you can actually use to block attacks. There is an enchantment that allows you to block attacks from the front and back. Really good. I have beaten the game using all of the purple and the legendary sword and shield. They are all very viable. However, there's definitely 2 that is just not that good. For example, in my opinion, the Demon Slayer, this one is not good. You might as well pick something else. Also, the Starry Shield, not my favorite. I think this one is a waste of time. Real quick, speaking of a waste of time, don't ever go the Hammer of the Grand Craftsman. This is the one where your special ability is to build up a cannon and you can fire cannonballs from that cannon. It's too slow. It is worthless. Don't pick this one. I always start a sword and shield run with the Wood Guardian from the base camp. It has the best AoE clear, and it helps me easily wipe the mobs and beat the first boss without switching a weapon. Twin Blade, last weapon we finally got here. I think this is one of those classes where if you upgrade to a legendary, you instantly feel much stronger, at least from my experience. This is my second most played weapon. And similar to the sword and shield, you can pretty much beat the game on any of these purple weapons. Of course, there are some that are better, including the Ice of the Frost Sun and Flame of the Full Moon. These two, in my opinion, are among the better ones, more consistent ones in the purple category, and this legendary one is like a combination of the two. Try not to go for any throw attack items or weapon. The Berserker Blood Axe you throw, and the Storm Axe also has a ability that throws. It's not that good. It's winnable, but it's not that good. Speaking of throw attacks, I will say, let me go back to my sword and shield. The Javelin, the Callion's Javelin. This is one that throws. This one's pretty good, okay? This one's actually one of the weapons that can throw, that does a good amount of damage, and because you're playing a defensive build, it works out. Back to the dual blades, obviously you are going more of the physical damage and secondary green. Hunter gear, banana, tier 1, use it if you are single player. Emergency HP bottle, use it if you don't like falling on your own banana, which by the way, you sometimes do want to fall on your own banana defensively. Use it when it's multiplayer. Tier 2, magic power disc. This one is actually pretty good, especially if you are playing multiplayer, and as long as one of you throws out a disc, that disc is going to be bounced around because all 3-4 of you guys are going to be attacking, and you're going to clear so much faster with the disc. So I would say it is definitely better than like the bomb, the boomerang, and all the other nonsense. Low-key OP. If you have that one friend who really enjoys buffing up the party, playing the support character, they can consider equipping the weapon strap. So they would hold the lantern, which if you have the inscription, I'm not going to go too much into it, but if you have the lantern with the inscription, you're buffing your whole party. And then they could use a staff or another weapon that has a party buff, such as the champion token, to further buff up your team. Is it necessary? Not really, but quick shout out to the weapon strap. For those of you going the red physical damage build, use these 3. For those of you using the blue magical build, use these 3. And finally, for those of you using the tank build, I prefer this one, and this one. Keep in mind, this is just my personal preference. Quick shout out to Blood of Mutation. It is not necessary, but if you want to take something out for this, it's completely viable. With that said, good luck on your run.